And in the month of March, we were given a show known as Doom Patrol with great casting, great acting, great performance, the strength of the show, the unpredictability, the bizarreness, everything about it you could just fall in love with. And now we are in the final episode, the season finale. What's up, YouTubers of the world? Mega U Mixer here to give you guys the final episode of Doom Patrol, the season finale known as Ezekiel Patrol. Why is it called that? Well, let's dive right on in and find out. So it all starts off in the spot where we had last time, and that was in the fact that the Doom Patrol learned of a horrible secret that was being kept away from them by Niles, but it was exposed, and it was the fact he was the one who caused their accident. And just like I'm pretty sure many of us probably expected, they did not take it so well, and pretty much were cutting off all ties with them. But not before first off that Robot Man Cliff and Crazy Jane, who turns into Hammerhead, just tried to attack him. But luckily for Niles, though, Mr. Nobody sent them away. And afterwards, then Mr. Nobody started to be all happy and stuff. But it turned, because why? Because he finally was able to destroy Niles. Why? Because all he really wanted, which at first surprised me until the show went on, that I realized what this was all about. And that was but like I said, nobody wanted Niles to be left alone, have no friends, nothing. And he got just that. He got what he wanted, so he sent Niles off, and pretty much now that all that was done, he got what he wanted. There was nothing left for him to do but party, celebrate, and make a fool of himself. Oh man. But he eventually realized there was one more thing he forgot. The thing that made us really believe what he was after when it came to the Beard Hunter episode. And that in itself I will get to here soon, because it plays a big part in the end. But before I do that, I will say he was reunited with some old friends, but I'm going to leave them for later too. Now we'll go into the part where there was starting to be a pattern here of showing Niles during his times with some of the accidents, not all of them, but some of them, such as Larry's accident. He was in the ant farm, and you guys remember that in the Doom Patrol episode, that guy who was taking care of the original first Doom Patrol members, Freddy, he was there with them too, and it turns out like he was working with Niles during some of those accidents, but we can be fair to say, at least though, Freddy wasn't comfortable with this. Unlike Niles, who was okay with this. He understood that he probably understood these methods weren't exactly something that people like, but he wanted to go through with it. Why did Niles want to go through all this? He wanted to learn of immortality. He wanted to experiment to get immortality. And why is that? Well, that's something else to say for later here. But as for like Freddy, he's only able to win through this because Niall would never tell him the full details on why they're ruining people's lives. Ah, boy. Yeah, but either case, like, what really started to make the chief really started to realize, start showing even more compassion for what he was doing to not only Larry, Rita, and Crazy Jane. It was when Cliff's accident happened that he really started to break down and see how far he had gone. And it started to horrify him. And that was in the fact, first off, that it turns out, you guys know like Cliff's origin in the comics. He gets into a race car accident. He gets into an accident while he's doing his race car driving. While here in the show, instead, it was an accident that happened on the streets. And yeah, I don't know, but what it was that the chief said it himself. The accident was supposed to happen on the racetrack. No one else was supposed to get hurt. And as we all know, the chief Cliff lost his wife. He thought he lost his daughter in the accident with her dying, but in reality, no, she lived. And we all know what happened with his daughter afterwards. So don't worry on that end. And you all know what happened with Cliff. And Yeah, speaking of which, it was during that accident when he was right there in front of Cliff Spring, was he paid a visit by Cyborg's mother. It turns out that, yeah, the chief is like a friend and mentor to Cyborg's mother. I forget her name, and I'm sorry I don't remember her name off the top of my head there. But what I do know is that this much, like, she didn't know what Niles had been doing, but it turns out she was the first to learn of what Niles had done to these people. And obviously she told it to her husband, Silas Stone, because when they went into the accident, the scene of the accident for when they first created Victor as Cyborg, Chief started to tell Silas Stone that he's gonna Victor will need him in the sense of compassion and empathy. Well, that's where Silas kind of gave him the cold shoulder and saying, like, you are talking to me about compassion and empathy after what you did to those people out there. You're not one to talk, Niles, and I will have to agree with Silas. I do admit there are some similarities with Silas and the Chief, but we can all agree that Silas only did what he did out of love, and well, Niles did what he did as just a lab experiment at first before he started to truly care about the Doom Patrol. But why he did it, like I said, I'm saving that for later, because like I said, that along with what Mr. Nobody does afterwards, after making Niles be alone, they're all connected. And that's for the Doom Patrol. What did they do after they were sent away by Mr. Nobody? Well, they were back in the real world, and they decided to just leave the mansion, never return, and it turns out like 6 months had passed, and they all went their separate ways. So Larry and Rita decided to start living together. Were they married? I don't think so. Maybe, maybe not. I don't really know though. It would be a bit of ironicness there, since how in the comics Larry had a crush on Rita and stuff. But who knows? I don't really care. I just wanted to throw that out there on the top of my head, like something to leave up there in the sky clouds for people to think about and say what they want to say. So we'll let it go on that end. But it was in the fact, so Rita decided to be an acting teacher, and it wasn't going so well because one of her students gave her an emotional assault by just saying awful things. So it's almost sounding like, and I do maybe gotta admit that maybe being an acting teacher wasn't the best thing, because I don't know, something about it, especially when she practiced the scene with one of her students, just felt kind of off to me. But that's not important really. I just wanted to also throw that out there. As for Larry, he was working on him and the negative spirit, Negative Man, and learning how to stay separated for a long time. And at first I was confused on that end, but then I realized that when they were in the ant form, and the reason they were separated for so long was probably because of something that the ant form did to him and the negative spirit that allowed them to be separated for a long time. And that this time, this is natural. They're naturally trying to learn how to do this together. Now, as for Crazy Jane, well, like, she decided to just start living in the bus and just fall into despair after learning the truth. But she also went over to Freddy, who was at the mansion of the Doom Patrol, and that's where she confronted him to ask him if he knew about what the chief did. And of course, yeah, he knew, because as I said, he was a part of the flashback of when those experiments were happening. But when Jane started to speak to him about how she keeps feeling this big scar on her chest, I don't believe it was physical, just an emotional and like a mental scar on her. This, and like all the people inside of her in the underground, like it was getting out of control for her, that she just couldn't take it. So, but luckily for her, Freddy had something that Niles had created, a bile that would make them like be calm and quiet. But he said that she needed to be with them so they could see how it works. But Jane wasn't having any of that. She just grabbed it, went back to the bus, took it all completely, and then as you saw in the other ground, all the personnels and her, along with the little young girl side of her, laid down and fell asleep. Cliff, in the meantime, he would pretty much just keep an an eye out for Jane. Like, he would always bring her food, but he would never reveal that it was him. That was until Jane finally figured it out. And as for Cyborg, he just went back to Detroit doing his things of stopping robberies and stuff like that. But what made this entire team get back together? Oh, before I go there, yeah, before, or actually, no, let me just go on. What made the team get back together? Well, it all was in the fact that music was playing for them. And why was music playing for them? Well, there's still more to get into. First off, what that music, for one, that was playing got them to go back to Doom Manor. And Axford and Crazy Jane, like, before she got back to Doom Manor, she was woken up by Dr. Harrison, who woke her up. So I guess, like, I guess that potion didn't work out too much, or maybe it did, and maybe we can look into that in season 2. But they go to Doom Manor, where they see the chief looking at a painting, and this is where everything else will start to connect. So Mr. Nobody, he as I said, he had something else he wanted, and that was back with that woman that Niles had an attraction for, or infatuation, or a relationship. Well, let's just say relationship, because we can't deny they showed love for each other. They were in love with each other. And it turns out that, and as we thought, Mr. Nobody was after that woman, or so we thought, but in reality, what he was after was Niles' daughter. And yes, Niles has a daughter. Niles, the chief, has a daughter, and it was because of his daughter that he was experimenting on everyone so he could learn immortality, so he could be able to be there for her and other people and stuff. And then why is that? Well, let's just first off say that his daughter is definitely different. And how in that end? Well, first off, with Mr. Nobody, thanks to some old friends of his coming back, that being the Cockroach and Admiral Whiskers. The Cockroach, by the way, named Ezekiel the Cockroach, and Admiral Whiskers are back, and they have joined forces with Mr. Nobody so they could find Niles' daughter and get her. But first they needed to snap Mr. Nobody out of it, because like I said, with him having gotten what he wanted in the sense of despair and drama, he had nothing else to do. But luckily those two got him back on his feet, and that's where they went to Danny the Street to get Niles' daughter. And you'll probably wonder, why does Danny the Street get involved in this? Well, that's because Niles gave his daughter to Danny the Street to take care of her. But they were found out, and Mr. Nobody, along with Ezekiel and Admiral Whiskers, went to Danny the Street together, and they were able to find her thanks to the Beard Hunter. How? Because of the Beard Hunter? Well, you guys remember at the end of Beard Hunter episode, when he was going down all those stairs, it's going down all those stairs that connects to the chief's daughter. She's like in some giant room where all those stairs lead down to her room, which we find out when Crazy Jane goes down there. But when they went down there, that little girl made that supervillain team of Mr. Nobody, Ezekiel the Roach, and Admiral Whiskers betray each other, or better yet, Ezekiel the Roach, Admiral Whiskers, betrayed Mr. Nobody. Why? Because she made them grow to kaiju size and started destroying the city. Or the street, because it's just a street. But in either case, when the Doom Patrol went into the painting and went to go rescue Danny, they were met by a fact that the street is under attack by kaiju and the size of Ezekiel the Roach and Admiral Whiskers. Man, that was crazy. And that ain't crazy enough. Cliff meets Admiral Whiskers again, and this time instead of Admiral Whiskers going inside Cliff, she swallows them whole. Yeah, that is definitely something in and of itself. While Mr. Nobody, he just like the Beard Hunter, realizing the stupid mistake he did and having himself working with those guys, because like I said, Beard Hunter told them where the girl was and stuff, but he started to realize it was a mistake, and since he couldn't do anything about it, he just decided to drown his sorrows by singing, while Mr. Nobody would just start drinking his sorrows into pittiness and stuff. But the Doom Patrol, they weren't about to let all this stop them. So Cyborg came up with a plan. And I don't really get how that plan was supposed to work, because, or better yet, I did get it. It's just bizarre how it worked. But this is Doom Patrol. That's what this show's all about. Bizarreness. But what it was that they all had to get eaten by Mr. Cockroach. Well, some of them did, while Crazy Jane went to go get the chief's daughter. And yeah, well, at first, like, we found out that the daughter, there's something about her, but Crazy Jane, along with the chief, was able to help her and get her out of where she was, and get over to, I guess, the Roach. I don't remember the Roach ever eating Jane, the chief, and his daughter, but somehow they got inside him. I don't know how. Oh, wait. Flint. No doubt it must have been Flint. I don't know how Flint could have been able to teleport them inside the cockroach. Because I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure I didn't see them get eaten. As for, like, who else got eaten? Well, Rita got eaten, and so did Cyborg. But before Rita got eaten, did she really show here why she's probably a better narrator than Mr. Nobody? Because she was able to get Mr. Nobody off his tail. And once she did that, was Mr. Nobody finally able to go back into his fourth wall breaking thing of doing the narration, which is what started getting everybody into Mr. Cockroach, Ezekiel the Cockroach. But that aside, you know, or actually, I'll say that for later. But as the story and his narration went on all about that, he almost forgot about Cliff. And how did Cliff get, after being eaten by Admiral Whiskers, get inside Ezekiel the Roach? Well, it led into one of the most bizarrest things you probably are going to see around. And that was in the fact that Admiral Whiskers and Ezekiel started to lip kiss or something like that. Yeah, lip kiss. Make out, lip sync, make out. You guys know what I'm talking about. All I just know is what I saw. Are you kidding me? Come on. Oh my gosh. But the Cliff was able to get in on the other side, because he was starting to, before Admiral Whiskers and Ezekiel would do that, he started to climb out of his mouth. And then when they were in the middle of that, did he go from one mouth to the next? And how did they escape the painting, and them and Danny the Streets escape the painting? Well, the plan was involving with Negative Man and Larry having to work together here. Negative Man would create a portal, and after that portal and everyone was inside the Roach, Negative Man unleashed his radiation, and after unleashing it, did Danny the Street and everyone else that were inside Ezekiel get out. Ezekiel survived it, but Admiral Whiskers didn't, and Nobody and Mr. Beer Hunter were left behind. And what happened to Danny the Street? Well, that's kind of a little hard to explain, but what it was that in this, when the Roach got out, Cyborg and them got out of being inside of him. And trust me, I'm glad they didn't show a shot of what it would have been like inside that Roach, because I don't think I even would have wanted to know. That's for sure. But it left them being all tiny and stuff. But it gave us a chance to at least see his daughter, or at least the back of the chief's daughter. We didn't really actually see her face, because I'm thinking, if she really is maybe the daughter of that wolf woman, could it be that she's like half wolf and human or something like that? Who knows? That's what I would really like to know about going into season 2, if we get a season 2, because I don't remember hearing them saying they'll renew Doom Patrol for a season 2. And as for Danny the Street, I don't know what to say what happened to him. All we were left was with the bricks saying Danny the Street. So is he still alive? I don't know. All I know is everyone's out of that painting except for Mr. Nobody and the Beard Hunter. But they're all small size, and Larry's the only one who's normal size. So I guess yeah, definitely leaves you on a cliffhanger and wondering what's gonna happen now. What's gonna happen? Because that's the big question going forward. What will happen if they have a season 2? And all I gotta say is, give us season 2, please. Give us a season 2. do, because I love this show. The show is awesome. You guys got to do another season of this. It's been great, and because it'll definitely see us how they are going to fix their relationship with the chief and what will happen going forward, and maybe learn more about his daughter. But definitely, I love this show. Best superhero show I have seen in a long time. Don't get me wrong, I've seen lots of other superhero shows, and they're good, but they were just not on this level. This is why I like Doom Patrol. Doom Patrol is awesome. It has to come back. The fourth wall breaking things from Mr. Nobody. Oh, by the way, who was the one doing the recap this time? He did cue the recap and did over a lot of stuff about what he's been doing. They're all throughout season 1. All I know is, guys, I love this show and this episode, not to the extent of everyone. If I'm being honest here, this season finale wasn't as strong as I would like it to be, but it was still good enough that I was like, this isn't a bad episode. I like this episode because I did like it. It still stuck to its bizarreness and everything, just took it in more of a different direction. But I loved it, and I love Doom Patrol, and I hope we can see more of it. But until then, guys, I'm gonna leave it at that. And be on the lookout for future videos as I talk about which one are my favorite episodes. Because I'm going to go through this and rewatch so I can find out which ones are my favorite episodes. And that's going to be tough to do because I like them all. But until then, guys, that'll be all for today. And if you enjoy my videos, click that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon to be notified when I make more videos. Until then, Mega Geek Mixer signing out. Bye!